So happiness, how do I get there and how do I feel happy all the time? A lot of us, like myself, are struck with the illusion that happiness is just a thing that you have and you can just feel happy all the time, and that happy people are always going to be happy, and like if I could just figure out what it is that they have, then I could be happy too. And so that's a pretty common thing with people that struggle with mental illnesses, whether it be depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD, ADHD, stuff like that, any other mental illness. Those are just kind of like the most common ones. A lot of the times when I was growing up, or recently even in the last couple of years, I've always kind of been thinking in my head, like, I just want to be happy. Like, I just want to get that happiness and figure it out, like, so I can just be happy already. And like, I could deal with all my problems a lot better if I was just happier, if I was just in a better mind state, if I was just better in a better place or better, you know? So I always wanted to improve myself, to make myself better, in hopes that one day I would find this magical dreamland of happiness and I'd always be happy and my negative emotions would slowly disappear. It's not really a good way to think about it, and it's not always like kind of the most productive way, because to be quite frank and blunt, it's just not true. There's not a destination, there's not a place where you get to where life is just happiness and sunshine and rainbows and there's no rain ever. And if you live in Vancouver, that's pretty evident. Sometimes there's going to be rain, sometimes there's going to be snow, sometimes there's just going to be clouds, and sometimes you're going to have days where you wake up, the sun is super shining, and then by noon, it's pouring rain. Your emotions are going to be like the weather, and it's just going to change, and there's no way to control that. So it is what it is. Those negative emotions, those negative times, they're unavoidable. It's going to happen. We're human, and that's part of the experience. It's part of being a human being. They don't have to rule your life or ruin your life, and life is not always rainy and stormy, right? And so to have the mentality when you have, even maybe if you have months of rain at a time, it doesn't mean your whole life is rainy, and to focus on those things is not going to help you whatsoever. Sometimes you're going to have to address those negative feelings, emotions, weather, whatever, and it's just part of the experience. There's going to be sunny days, there's going to be rainy days, and it doesn't help yourself to lie to yourself and say, oh, these rainy days don't exist, it's always sunny in my world. And it's not going to help you to just kind of ignore the sun and say, hey, it's always rainy all the time. It's good to have a balance and understand the balance and understand that these things are just going to happen. It's part of the world. It's part of being human. Having these negative emotions and having these negative thoughts is the same thing as the world just having rainy days. It happens. And you couldn't have the sun without the rain. You couldn't be happy without feeling the pain. You don't know what to compare it to. Now, are there things that you can do to make yourself more susceptible to happiness? Absolutely. You can always try and pull the best aspects out of it, right? So you don't have to pretend like, oh, it's a rainy day, I can't go outside. But that being said, there are certain things that you can draw out of the rainy days. Like, hey, it's a rainy day, so my plants are going to grow a lot better. Maybe I can spend a little more time inside reading or studying or working on things that I know I need to work on. The sunny days, you can go out and enjoy. And then the rainy days, you can kind of start to reflect and start to work on things as well. Goes into the same thing as what I was saying. So the happy days, you can go out and enjoy, you know, your friends, your family, your work time, things like that. And then on your sad days, maybe those are the days that were given to you for a purpose. Maybe those are the days where you can kind of start to reflect on maybe why you're sad, why you're unhappy, why you're anxious, why you're upset, why you're depressed. And you can start to try to take a look at the reasons why and see what parts of your life are impacting that. Because sometimes, you know, maybe work is perfect, your family life is perfect, your friends are getting along with you really well, you have no problems whatsoever, but maybe there's a certain aspect of your life where you're kind of dragging or lagging behind, and that's what's making you depressed. Maybe it's your body image, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's certain things like that. Or maybe you're in a perfect relationship and your work is perfect and everything seems to be lined up, but then maybe you get home and you're like, well, my nutrition was really off today and I haven't read in about a week, And there's always going to be certain aspects of your life that are kind of dragging behind. And that's, again, natural because you can't focus on everything at once. Happiness you always hear about is not a destination. It's a journey. And I've heard that probably about 500, 600 times in my life. I've had former bosses tell me this when I've opened up about my emotions. And one boss in particular, she usually used to explain this to me all the time, and I never got it because I would always say to her, I'm doing really well at work, but certain things in my life, I just feel like I wish I was happier here. I wish I was doing better here. And she would always explain, happiness is not a destination, it's a journey. It never really clicked with me, even though I had heard it a lot. Now, one thing that really helped me out with understanding this topic or concept was to think of it completely different. You got mice in your house. These mice are going to represent happiness. It's out there, it's in your house, it's running around, you can hear it. Sometimes maybe you could see a glimpse of it running across the hallway, but you don't have it. You don't have it in your hands. You haven't captured it yet. And so you can consider each room in your house in this metaphor to be like an area of your life. You have your kitchen, maybe represents your nutrition. You have your bedroom, maybe represents your relationships. You have your living room, which maybe represents just your work environment. And you have a family room, which obviously would represent like your family. And you got mice in all of these areas, but you just can't seem to capture them all at once. Maybe you even get one or two of them by hand in your kitchen or things like that, but it takes a lot of effort and it takes up a lot of your time, and you end up being exhausted and not being able to chase the mice in the other room. One strategy would obviously be maybe look through all the rooms, and then when you see the mouse, you try and just run up and grab it with your hand. And that seems to be what I did for a long period of time. Maybe your bedroom's a mess. Maybe your relationship life is a mess, and you want to catch the mice in that room. You could go on Tinder, you could go on those dating apps, you can go out to a nightclub and buy every single girl you think is pretty drinks, and eventually, you'll probably end up catching a mouse by hand. But another strategy would be maybe just set strategic traps. And I'm talking about mouse traps here, and I'm also talking metaphorically. You don't want to trap people. That being said, what you want to do basically is, instead of running into these rooms and trying to catch all of these mice by hand, what you want to do is set up certain traps in your life, certain areas of your life in the best way possible. And you want to hide these traps in the best areas. You want to have a lot of these traps for sure. And you want to basically be able to just set up each area of your life, each room in your house where you're trying to catch mice. Those represent different areas in your life where you're trying to get happiness. It's going to be a lot more time efficient, energy efficient, and natural of a process if you're strategically setting up these traps in these areas for you to catch these mice. I've heard it in the metaphor as well, basically saying, like, if you want to catch a bird, you're not going to just try and fly and try and chase it through the air. What you're going to do is build a beautiful birdhouse, set it up in a good area, and you're going to be patient and wait and understand that those birds are going to nest in that house, and eventually that's going to create eggs, and that's going to be your happiness. What that basically looks like is maybe professionally in your work, you want to get that promotion, you want to make more money, you want to, not have to ask certain people for certain consents to just do certain things in your work. You want to get a promotion. You could sit around there and try and catch the mouse by hand, or you could set traps up in certain areas that are going to benefit you, right? So make yourself hireable. Learn new skills. Give someone a reason to give you more money. Give someone a reason to give you more authority or power. You're not chasing the destination, or you're not chasing the mouse, or you're not chasing happiness directly. But what you are doing is setting yourself up so that one day you're going to come in to the room that you're wanting to catch mice in, and you're going to see 6 traps with mice in them. They're just going to be there. And so it's kind of a process. It's kind of a journey. Not to mention, you're going to get a lot more results from this way as well. Basically, what I'm trying to explain is happiness is not a destination. It's going to be a journey. And it's not going to be found through just thinking, oh, if I get this, this will make me happy. It's more about setting up certain areas of your life to make you more susceptible to gaining happiness. And if you fall in love with the process, then you're going to get what you're looking for, right? That was another thing that one of my old bosses used to tell me is, don't always chase the end product. Fall in love with the process of doing the thing, and the end product will come naturally. And it's going to be a lot more rewarding that way. So maybe this comes to play in your personal life with your friends. Maybe you want to think like, oh, I want to have friends that will always have my back and they're always going to support me with what I think. Obviously, there's one method, which is you're just going to ask all your friends, hey, do you support me in everything I do? And do you always want the best for me? And then if they don't say yes, then you could be like, hey, we're going to drop that person. Maybe you want to start working on actions that are just going to motivate people to support you, right? Maybe you want to focus on, treating other people around you so that maybe the next time they're doing something for themselves, they could think, hey, I'm going to do this for Mark as well. I'm going to grab him a coffee on my way to go see him, whatever it is. Essentially, you want to just start tidying up the areas where you want your happiness instead of just chasing the happiness directly. I really hope this helps you out with kind of visualizing like what it kind of means that happiness is a journey and not a destination. I really hope this helps you guys out. If it does, that's amazing. If it doesn't and you need a little bit more help, feel free to message me or comment that, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. For the most part, I'm pretty quick at replying to DMs on Instagram and messages on Facebook and comments on YouTube. But if I'm not, then just send me another one and I'll get back right to it. Thank you so much for watching.